He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of fair Gotham, and welcome once again to Bat Minute Forever, the show that always makes the best of entrances. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And I'm not tired about talking about the Bat, dear boy. It is I, Niall McGowan.
Hello.
Hey.
I don't know why I do that.
John, I have to say, your intro was good, but mine was better.
Oh.
I was going to say his was better, and I was like, oh, we haven't introduced Scott yet. So I was like, oh no, I'm going to sound like a real egomaniacal twat
well,
by saying mine was better.
Since you've ruined who the guest is, nobody would ever have guessed that it's the same one from Monday.
Spoilers for the guest.
Here he is, everybody. Scott Carelli, the one and only.
Hello, and let me start this episode by proposing to you this.
Ooh.
Batman Forever remake directed by Tom Hooper.
Oh.
I'd be up for it.
I know he'd be up for it because Tom Hooper is probably like, I'm never going to work again. That was the end of Tom Hooper. Just him and Josh Trank just hooking up, just like
let's just turn Batman Forever into the musical that it was always meant to be.
Hey, well, to be fair though, Scott, like you probably would be well familiar with the Spider-Man musical, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Uh-huh.
And I remember seeing the footage from that at the time. Me and a former guest of the show, Gaz Flint, we were watching. They were showing the footage of like "Freak Like Me Needs Company," like the Green Goblin villain song.
Oh yeah.
And his immediate response was like, "Had they just copied the Joel Schumacher Batman movies?" Because that was the aesthetic. They were just like, yeah, Spider-Man, but it's all neon and really goofy and
is
stuff.
Is it sad?
Like,
but I would have bought a ticket day one.
I'm still hoping, like, please do a DVD release of it or something.
Yeah.
Like, they always record those shows for posterity. So it's like, there's a copy somewhere of a professionally filmed version of Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. And they just ain't releasing it for whatever reason.
Is this
actually, there actually probably isn't. And the reason for that is because I think it was only technically actually open as like a real Broadway play for about 3 months before it was closed. Because the other year before that was testing. It wasn't like actually open.
Unless they did they film them with no crowd? A bit like all the wrestling shows are having to do because of the coronavirus.
Well, no, because the testing still has a crowd. You can still go and buy tickets to a test of a I went and saw a test for Big Fish before it technically opened on Broadway.
Oh,
yeah, but and it changed a lot, I guess, for the worse by the time it opened on Broadway because it too only closed after like 3 months. But yeah,
I think there is a way they'll do things where they'll come out and like by the time they release the soundtrack albums, like entire songs have changed their lyrics completely and stuff.
Yeah,
because in the testing when people saw it, it was like, oh, we're just trying that out. That doesn't count. So I guess maybe Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. They're like the whole thing didn't count. Like that was all just a test. Just go back to your business, everybody.
Also, just because I know what show I'm on, I have to make this happen. So Cats. The 2019 film directed by Tom Hooper, of course.
Yes.
Tom Hooper, who I just suggested should remake Batman Forever as a movie musical. But Cats, written by Andrew Lloyd Webber, who also wrote Phantom of the Opera, which was directed by Joel Schumacher.
Yeah, that's right.
So there you go.
And there's always the bitter irony that like Phantom of the Opera has such an influence over the first Batman movie. And then Tim Burton didn't get a look in to actually do the film adaptation.
That would have been.
They got the other asshole who was just like.
Well, I don't think the musical had much of anything to do with the Batman movie. It was
that is true.
Yeah,
it was more like the silent movie version of it.
Yeah, but even
the legend,
the musical would have been good for Tim Burton to direct. I think. I mean, he did Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, that is
and
true.
I love Sweeney Todd. I don't care if anyone doesn't. I love it.
I do know from just from the world in general, not a lot of people have much regard for Joel Schumacher's Phantom of the Opera. adaptation. And I remember when we had Alison Grimm on, because apparently she's a Phantom fanatic, and she was just like, no.
Oh.
She had a real stringent, like, oh, would you want to come on to talk about it sometimes? Like, I'll talk about it, but it won't be pleasant. It's like, all right. So come into your feeds sometime in the future, folks.
We might love it. That'd be funny if we loved it and she hated it. It'll be like our Purple Rain episodes.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Like, because it wasn't all of U2. Was it just the Edge who wrote songs for the Spider-Man musical, or was it the whole band?
It wasn't U2. It was the Edge and the singer.
Oh, Bono.
Bono.
Because then
Bono
they did
and
the
the Edge.
spin-off. Yeah, they did the spin-off single to this. So Tom Hooper makes that musical. You gotta get friggin' Bono and Edge back in to do the rest of it.
Yes. Well, anything to stop Bono writing another song about the coronavirus for relief.
No, man. That was the thing too. I literally spent my entire week not just trying to avoid, going outside and social distancing. I've been trying to distance myself from that Gal Gadot video that everyone's talking about, because I knew from the second I saw the headline that would be really cringeworthy. Yeah. And now people keep trying to thrust it in my face. They're like, have you seen this thing? It's like, I don't want to see it. I never want to see it, because I know I'm just going to go like, oh, dear God, why? As soon as it starts.
Oh, God. Well, let's make your day better, everybody. This is minute 77. And the minute starts with a quick costume change. And it ends with a bat beat down. So, yeah, Bruce slips off into the car, which is waiting for him. It's a Rolls Royce.
I was quite shocked to find that, like, old man Alfred, this guy too, he's so tortured. He's not, he's not inside the car. Alfred's already outside. He's standing by the car. Mm-hmm. Like, unless he's having a smoke break or something, but I really, really doubt
He's hitting those cigarettes hard, just like, whoa.
This would have been a prime opportunity to do like an old trope joke of like, oh, the dad waiting outside for the kids to come out of the concert. And it could have been like Alfred in the car with his foie gras, just like singing along to the radio, or he's got a little we call it the thermos of Earl Grey and stuff with him.
Definitely.
This could have been the opportunity to have Kiss from a Rose in the movie. It could have been Alfred just, baby, I compare you to the... Oh, sorry, Master Bruiser.
You could have had a whole gag with it. He could have been Thingy from Die Hard. What's the...
Oh, yeah.
Argyle.
Yeah, nice.
Bruce Wayne in the back changing, and Alfred's in the front with the sunglasses and the headphones on. Rocking
I will say, there is absolutely no way that he's changing into that rubber suit in this car, in the back of this car.
No way.
Plus, I don't get the impression that suit, you just put it on like clothes. I don't think you just slip the pants on. Like, it's a piece of high-tech equipment. He needs help getting into that. There'll be buckles. There'll be all kinds of things.
I mean, literally, all you need is for like there to just be like a little, like almost like in the video game, like a pod lands and he like gets into it like it's almost like it's a phone booth in like a Superman movie, and just like gets in it, it closes, and when it reopens, he's Batman. Like,
yeah.
we don't need him to get into a car. Like, this is ridiculous. No one's buying this.
It's a bulky suit as well. Like, I could barely change like a pair of trousers in a car.
Yeah.
But then again, it is a Rolls Royce. They're probably quite roomy.
I remember though the toy they brought out for this that was like, it was a thing that I don't know if they still do it with every Batman movie, but like it became a thing with Returns where you had transforming Bruce Wayne, like the toy. So you'd have like, oh, Bruce Wayne, and you'd clip on that Returns toy was pretty good because it was like, oh, it's a little cowl you slip on, a little clip on chest thing, boots, a little bit big, but it did the job. And I remember then Forever was like a really weird one where it was like the colors didn't match. He had claws, like battle claws you put on, the big red lobster claws.
Yeah.
And then his head kind of went down like, what's his face? Dana Carvey in Master of the Skies when he's being the turtle. His head would kind of go into the collar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you'd clip on the bat cowl that way.
Yeah.
And I just remember it just being like, it was
just
one of those ones.
Just like Batman, Niall. Just like Batman.
Yes, exactly.
Now I need a Batman movie where Bruce does that. His head just sort of crumbles down into his chest.
Just did it in this movie. There's just no explanation for it. It's just like that's the way Bruce Wayne's heads work. He's some sort of tantric yoga he's been doing for years.
It's like those it's like those like headless man costumes where you put the shoulders on either side of your head with
Yes.
and then he's got the cowl on top of that, and he just like looks out like a porthole, like a submarine. Like
There were loads of toys that used to change like that though, where the head would like rotate and it would be a different like
those Power Rangers toys.
They did, yeah. Power Rangers ones did it. I think I had some Terminator ones, so you could do it and like reveal that he's a robot. Oh,
Whoa.
In fact, I had one where his whole like upper body could flip over and it'd be like scarred flesh with robot bits.
Oh, that's
sticking
right.
out.
I think I had that one too.
Oh, I
actually,
remember
yeah.
that one. Yeah.
That was cool.
I remember there was a T1000 that would turn clear if you put it under hot water as well.
That's amazing. I
And
didn't.
I think mine. I say mine did. It did it once and never changed back.
High tech.
You know who probably didn't have any of these toys because he worked at a circus is Robin here.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I love that Dick Grayson is hanging out with the rock band. Like that's
That really does actually fit his character. I wish we got a little bit more of that kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing. It's like he seems to be down behind. Like he's coming up behind them. It's like, what's he doing back there? It's just like, oh, it's Dick Grayson. He's
I assumed he was
taking
making out with her. That's what I assumed was happening.
So it didn't work with In Vogue when he was trying to convince them he was Batman earlier. But like, well, the B-52 is here. Like, oh, you can win them over in seconds.
With Dick, they should focus on that, right? Because in the finished movie, the impression I get is like you're supposed to think he's cool, but he's not cool. Kind of like James Hurley in Twin Peaks, you know?
Yeah.
So really, they should make him cooler. He should be getting with the groupie. He should be doing all this like badass. I know it's cringy, but that's Dick. He is cringy a little bit. Go overboard with it.
Well, the problem is that Chris O'Donnell's a terrible Dick Grayson.
Well, he's far too old.
I mean, yeah, he's far too old for one, but for two, like even if he's playing Nightwing era Dick Grayson, he's bad. He just doesn't have the right vibe to him. And Dick Grayson's vibe is very specific, and I don't really know how to explain it. He's like the opposite of Batman. Like whatever that is, he's sort of the opposite of Batman. So his coolness factor doesn't come from being like Batman. You know,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
not. He's supposed to be very chatty and charismatic. And Chris O'Donnell is not that.
Yeah.
And
But
so
this
it's a problem.
version of Dick Grayson is more just an amalgamation of Dick Grayson and Jason Todd and a little
Yes.
bit of Tim Drake.
Yes.
So
I would say mostly Jason Todd, honestly.
I get that from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what Robin shall we adapt? What about the one that people voted to kill?
Yeah.
They hated him so much.
Yeah.
It's a
Like that's gonna
it's
work.
a weird move, and they give him very little to actually do, considering he's got an emotional like story going on with his parents and stuff. And I think it's solely because he's here just to bring in like the teenage girls because they all think he's hot. That's it.
One thing though, and it's like I know it's not him, but it's really fascinating me is that it would work so well in the show as a joke. Is the close up of Dick as he's coming up behind the band. The guy to his left, the guy with the kind of like the stringy green sort of dreadlock things,
Yeah.
he looks so much like a young version of Titus from the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt to me,
Oh, I
like
can see
facially.
it.
It's just like
Yeah.
that's like I can imagine Kimmy Schmidt like having a joke where I was like, oh yes, one time I went to Kimberly, I went to Joel Schumacher's Thursday night orgy and I choked on Chris O'Donnell's earring, but turns out it was just a set of Batman Forever or something like that. And just cutting to this, like Titus is dressed up as this guy, like in a Batman movie. It's like that would 100,000,000% work as a joke on Kimmy Schmidt. But
I wish it was him. I need more Titus in my life.
I don't know, because the guy is like, I think he's a little older than we're thinking. I think he might be like late 40s. So it could well be him. Like that actor is just like, yeah, I was around 95. That's me at like 21 or something.
I didn't spot his
Like,
name in the extended credits you can get, for all the bit part characters, sadly. So.
There's a couple of really, well, actually coming up later in this minute, there's another actor who's like, how does this guy not have a credit? I want to know who he is, but somehow it fell through the cracks. Like every single person in Batman 89 has been reported on and poured over. But it's as if people don't like Batman Forever as much or something, and they're just not as fussed about examining it.
That's ridiculous. Don't you dare suggest that. No. But this woman that we speculated he was making out with as well, I'm obsessed with her. That is the greatest wig of all time.
She really reminds me of Cindy from B-52.
Yeah, I had a
love it's the
B-52s
hair.
vibe, totally.
Yeah. It's again too. We would have loved to have seen a little interaction. It would have been something actually though if it wasn't a member of the band, if it was Sugar, and like she's like, well, it didn't get Bruce Wayne, but I'm eyeing up that ward.
Yeah.
Just like, and then it would have been a reunion between Drew Barrymore and Chris O'Donnell from Mad Love. You could have had it right there, but they missed it.
The public were begging for it, and you missed it.
Yeah.
Was Mad Love before this or after this?
It was the film they both made immediately prior to this was Mad Love. So the fact that they do briefly share a scene, like they're just in the same room at the same time, it's just like, oh my God, how could you not have them together and at least a little interaction? But I guess maybe Joel Schumacher's like, what do I care about Mad Love? Like it means nothing to me. This is an actress, this is an actor. They don't have any reason to be together in my sense. So
honestly, there could have been something really funny there with like Chris O'Donnell, his Robin, just sort of seducing Sugar or whatever, and it's like, you know, it's like, you killed my parents, I banged your girlfriend, you know.
That would be funny.
We're even.
Oh, that was at the end. He just kept it in his pocket, and just like that was the thing. It was like, this is for my mother, this is for my father, and this is for me. I banged your girlfriend. Like, what?
I would love a Dick Grayson like that. I think they should just go all out with him. They don't go far enough. He's kind of just like a bit limp and wet, you know.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot, almost exactly as the character from the lead in The Lost Boys. The older brother, like he reminds me so much of him. Obviously, he has shorter hair than that character. But other than that, the single earring, like if you literally took that guy and cut his hair into this, they would look identical.
Yeah,
I feel like
he does. He's got that Jason Patrick blandness. He showed up. He's in Speed 2. He does look like Chris O'Donnell now.
Oh right, yeah, that's right.
Cropped.
That's true. Yeah, so he's just so generic.
The weirdest thing about The Lost Boys, though, is just that, like, Joel Schumacher has proven time and time again, actually, because he did it in The Client as well with Brad Renfro. Like, I think Jason Patrick at that point in Lost Boys, he was like 17 or something, and Kiefer Sutherland was like 19 maybe when they made that movie. And then even younger than that, they had like Corey Haim and Corey Feldman and all that. Like, so he's worked with child actors. He can get good performances out of them. So again, why isn't Dick Grayson like 14 years old? Why isn't he a kid? Like you could have found another kid.
Yeah.
Like, you could have coaxed a Corey Haim and Lost Boys performance out of like another child as Dick Grayson. You know, it was perfectly feasible. But
it would have been better.
It would have been. Studios were weird about that in the 90s, though. Like, they didn't cast a lot of teenagers because they had this whole thing about, like, well, you know, if they're under 18, they can't work 8 hours a day, and that's a whole hassle. So let's just cast an adult and call them a kid, and whatever. No one knows the difference.
But he's an adult, and he's you know, older than the character clearly is. But he can't be too old. It's like, we need the teenage girls to want him. Like, he's like a boy band member you'd put on the wall, you know.
There's got a lot of women who are going to want to have sex with you, and we want them to think they can.
That's basically what they're going for. Yeah. Well, not just women. I mean, a lot of guys liked him too. You know, he's the cheesy, handsome guy from the 90s.
But yeah, then we get the obviously. Edward Nygma making his way up to Two-Face here. Some very, very clearly ADR'd lines in as well as he's talking to him. I was like, that has not been picked up naturally by any microphone in that moment. But yeah, so he's starting to complain about the fact that, like, oh, you know, you're attacking my party. Are you insane? Even though I was like, yeah, it's Two-Face. He's his thing. He's
literally
insane.
Drinking 2 cocktails right now simultaneously.
That's brilliant. I like that aspect of his character, though, the 2 thing, because it's the only thing that's like Two-Face. Everything else about him is nothing at all like Two-Face.
That's the thing, too. We take while he's drinking, I thought was quite strange in that it seems if you take it to be wine, I assumed it was wine. Maybe it is a cocktail. I'm not too sure. But, like, it seems on the scarred side, he's going for rosé. Whereas on the clean side, he's going for like a red wine. I would have thought it'd been, because the rosé is kind of classically more sort of mellow. and a little more palatable than a red wine. I would have thought because of the scar size, sort of wanting a charred heart of black boar.
Yeah, you'd think a red wine would go with that.
Yeah, we'd be wanting like the strongest, most like friggin' pungent red wine you could find.
My favorite.
Yeah,
I was like, no,
I think it's a cocktail. That's what it strikes me as. I just picture the Two-Face side being like a fireball drink of some sort.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody write in, let us know, what does Two-Face drink?
Or maybe it's wine on the left and like a fireball cocktail on the right. I don't know.
Maybe he's making the cocktail in his mouth. It's like, oh, this is this is some of this is vermouth, and some of this is Fireball or whatever. You just pop it in together, swizzle it around, and whatever it is, he is loving it though. He is really like that's a man who's enjoying his drink.
Well, if you remember, Niall, actually, I have brought up before. I do have saved here a bunch of Batman-themed cocktails, thanks to BuzzFeed.
Oh,
yeah.
Do they have a Two-Face one?
Let me refresh myself. No.
What the hell? Surely a guy whose whole thing is that he's two things, which is a natural cocktail. You would friggin' do. Maybe they're like, oh no, he's two separate entities that are sort of jammed together, rather than things that are naturally mixing together. Maybe they had we will never cross that Two-Face line.
Well, there is a one called the Boy Wonder, which is orange juice, sparkling wine, silver tequila, splash of grenadine, or maraschino cherry juice. I would like that. That would be nice.
I don't know. I think Robin's too young to drink. Like he shouldn't be putting any of that near this guy.
This Robin's not.
No. Oh, this Robin's. He's just like not even Coca-Cola. He's like the cheap off-brand cola. That's all he drinks. He just sits and guzzles at by like the leader.
Well, this one looks nice. The Alfred. Oh, it's Pimm's, though. Pimm's is... it's got Pimm's and black tea and ginger beer and stuff in it, though. That sounds good. Anyway, I'm going to stop looking at cocktail recipes. So, yeah, as you mentioned there, we discover that this isn't... this is no ruse. Because you could have thought in the last minute, oh, this is a trick. Like, Edward's in on this. This is part of a plan. No, it isn't. Two-Face has just had enough of waiting around, and he thinks that, like, well, if I sort of attack Nygma's thing, or pretend to, or whatever, it'll draw the bat out. So, I mean, it's not the worst plan in the world. I get it.
The thing is, though, I think we've almost like we owe Tommy Lee an apology here, because one of our major criticisms of the version of Two-Face in this film is that he's intensely one note, and there's not much of a hint of a split personality in him. But this minute, technically, I think he is. He is flipping back and forth, because he does have his, like, oh, we're tired of you waiting for you to deliver the bat, dear boy. And then it's like, oh, patience, oh, bifurcated one. And patience, oh, we want him dead. Like, it seems as if he's flipped between two different people there. So, technically, there's a little sliver of the split personality of Harvey Two-Face here. Although I was weirded out in that, like, Tommy Lee's portrayal then of Harvey Dent seems like he's a bit of an upper crust kind of guy. Because, like, oh, we're tired of you waiting for you to deliver the bat, dear boy. Like, he sounds very effete and very 1% kind of.
I like it when he does that,
yeah, but it seems like this would be a Batman, or this would be a Two-Face, or a Harvey Dent who's like, you always assumed, the DA is going to be a man of the people and stuff. But this is more like, no, he's in the Bruce Wayne category. Like, oh, he's a rich guy, like up at the top.
Well, I mean, yeah, you say a man of the people, but I still think you've got to be somebody to become the DA, right? You can't just be a regular guy from the street.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other versions of Harvey Dent we've seen, is like particularly in The Long Halloween. And
well,
whatnot.
yeah, but I'm talking about in real life, Niall. This is a realistic movie.
But it also did remind me, though, of the fact that, like, oh, Harvey Dent being a posh guy, is that one thing we've not delved into in the show yet is that Harvey Dent isn't the only Two-Face in the DC Comics universe.
Oh, yeah.
There's been instances of other Two-Faces, Two-Fies.
Two-Fi.
We'll get into. There's one who's quite major. We'll leave him for another episode, though, because you can talk about him for ages. But after the original Harvey Dent trilogy, at the end where he sort of gave up and then had facial reconstructive surgery and then became, like a normal guy again, married Gilda, all that stuff. In Batman 50 in December 1948, we had the storyline The Return of Two-Face, wherein Harvey, well, it seems as if Two-Face is out committing crimes again. And Harvey Dent is like, he's still like normal face and stuff, and he's kind of going to bits.
Normal face.
But he's just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe like I am Two-Face and I'm not realizing it's a split personality. It's like maybe I'm going off and doing it when I don't realize. It could be like a Tyler Durden kind of situation.
Oh my God, I would love that story.
But so then Batman keeps kind of stepping in, but like I don't know what's happening here. But then they leave Harvey, who, let's not forget, I guess maybe he is just a rich guy, because they leave Harvey Dent in the care of his personal butler, Wilkins. And Wilkins apparently is the butler to ex-con murderer Harvey Dent, who apparently has gone back to practicing law. So all those concerns they had at the end of The Dark Knight about like, his cases get thrown out of court and all this other business, apparently didn't matter back in the Silver Age.
No, nobody cared.
Just like,
nobody cared.
It's like, no, he got this surgery. He's back to the practicing law. He's completely
I know
trustworthy.
lawyers are quite rich, but do they have butlers?
Apparently, Harvey Dent had a butler.
Okay.
And so again, throughout the whole story, he thinks like, oh yeah, this Two-Face keeps popping up, and like I think it could. Like, I'm confessing, I think it could be me. I don't remember doing it. And then Batman deduces that it's not Two-Face because he notices that this version of Two-Face has scars on both sides of the coin, and he's like, Two-Face doesn't do that. That's his whole thing, is that he can't do that. It would be fundamentally against him. And it's revealed at the end, much like Scooby-Doo, that the second Two-Face is in fact Wilkins, is Harvey Dent's butler.
Okay, that's cool.
And then he's done this. He's disguised himself as Harvey Dent and as Two-Face on top of that, because apparently he just realized that like, oh yeah, people recognize Two-Face as a criminal. So if I was to go out robbing as him, then they'd be scared of me, because they'd be like, hey, it's Two-Face, so I'm just going to do that. I don't know why he had to be Harvey Dent's butler, but I don't know if that was the long con. It's like, I need to get in with this guy, so maybe he thinks it's him or something. I don't know what was going on there, but that was the reveal of like a Two-Face 2 was Harvey Dent's personal butler, Wilkins. So in some ways, maybe this version of Harvey Dent, this could have been a sequel had Two-Face survived this movie. It could have been like, upper crust Harvey Dent gets cured, has his face restored, but then it turns out like, his butler has been played by, I don't know, Bobcat Goldthwait or something. It's like he's going to turn out to be the villain.
I mean, I'll take any Bobcat Goldthwait I can get. So bring it on.
I like that it's a more literal approach to being two-faced.
Yeah.
Which is, his name is Two-Faced, but like he's not particularly two-faced.
No,
in general.
Never.
But
really.
Wilkins are, I mean, that makes sense. He's like, oh, I'm your butler. Actually, no, I'm a two-faced SOB. Like, that's good.
That's a cool storyline. I can get behind this. I need to read that. Which one was it again?
It was Batman 48 from... Oh, no, Batman 50 from December 1948.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. I can get hold of that. That'll be on the internet.
Oh, you'll find it there somewhere. But it's... although that's the thing, though, like... Because then when the Riddler is saying to Two-Face here, they're like, oh, you could have let me in on this. We could have planned it, and it secured the movie rights.
Yeah.
Like, one is like, this incident ain't going to make a dent in Gotham. They're going to make a movie out of this.
Yeah.
Like,
They've had wilder things happen, like, every week.
Yeah. But it also got me thinking, like, it would explain a lot in my personal headcanon if it was just like, well, what if... within Gotham City, because we know, again, in the Spider-Man universe, like within the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man himself is a man who gladly gives himself up to merchandise and stuff. Like he had a not-so-good popsicle, like an okay Christmas album and all this sort of business. So, like, why, maybe years after Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne is retired or died or whatever, Gotham City is making movies about Batman. Why couldn't this be within the Tim Burton universe? Batman Forever could be a Batman movie set in that world.
That's always been my feeling. If they ever did a third Tim Burton Batman movie, like a Batman Beyond with Tim Burton and Michael Keaton, you just you're like, oh wow, this is like a lot. You're a lot more dark and broody than the movies. He's like, yeah, I didn't like those movies, and you just like let it. You just roll right past it, like, oh yeah, these were movies made in that universe, and that's why the actor changes both times because they don't get the same actor back.
Yeah, it'll explain too. Like, yeah, well, why isn't Billy D. Williams Harvey Dent anymore? So it's like, well, this is the movie version,
right?
Like,
in the movie version, he's white. And then you can do something really fun by having like Clayface either played by Val Kilmer or George Clooney in the Batman Beyond movie, and then you say that he was playing Batman in the Batman Forever movie, but really he was Clayface the whole time.
Oh, that'd be amazing!
Man.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
The thing is, like, years ago, that would have been unthinkable as a thing. But now we're in a post Spider-Verse world where they could be like, hey, you know what? Why not? Let's go and make it an animated thing. We don't have to spend that much money on it. We can go to town on this idea.
Yeah, I don't. I'd say they could make it live action, and I think they would make a ton of money.
Yeah,
honestly, I think if you advertise this as like Michael Keaton and Burton are back, they're making another Batman movie. That movie makes like $2 billion.
I think it
There's
would
no
actually
way.
do well. It must do. I don't know why. Maybe Tim Burton has just gone, no, I don't want anything to do with it. I know he had kind of bad feelings after all of this, and he hated working on them quite a lot.
Yeah, well, I think that the issue is that, like, one, I mean, I don't think that would. I don't think he would hold a grudge against Warner Brothers because none of the people involved in 1994 when that happened, when the fallout happened, 93 or whatever, none of them are at the company anymore.
No.
So I don't think he would have an issue there. But I think the real issue is that they were so continuity obsessed for so long, and now that it seems that they've let that go by rebooting Batman again, and they've got that Joker movie, and I'm sure there's going to be more Joker-esque movies waiting in the wings.
Oh, yeah.
I think making a third Batman movie now would be like, I don't know, more in line with what their brand is now. I think now it's more likely now than it ever has been before.
I think so. Yeah. Oh, now we haven't mentioned one of the greatest lines in film history that is also one of the dumbest lines in film history. Patience, oh bifurcated one. That is the most Jim Carrey thing you could imagine.
Oh, that's the craziest thing. Is like there's lines of dialogue in this sequence where I was like, this must be Jim Carrey improv.
Yeah.
No, they go right back to like the earliest drafts. It's like, oh, bifurcated one, and what's coming up, the whole like, oh, your entrance was good, his was better. It's like that stretches so much. Like this is clearly him goofing around on set,
not,
right?
though, no.
Like, no, it's all. It was all. This was ironclad in the freaking script.
It's the delivery, though. I actually wish he went even more overboard with the delivery. I want it to be like full-on Ace Ventura, like, patience, oh, bifurcated one.
I mean, he's only like a hair away, to be fair.
Why would he possibly speak that way? To show he's smart?
I don't know. It's just Jim Carrey. It's been Jim Carrey.
Well, there you go. We've brought this up a lot, but we haven't spoken to Scott about it. Don't you think it would be so much better if you saw a change in Edward Nygma when he starts using the box? The thing is, he's crazy from minute one, and he's smart from minute one. Nothing changes.
Yeah, I mean that's my problem with the box is it doesn't change anything. The only thing that I think that it does, and again they're not very clear on it, is that I don't think it's making him smarter. I think it's giving him more knowledge.
Yes, yeah.
Which is that he's learning, he's knowing everyone's secrets. He's learning everyone's secrets, and he's remembering that and keeping all of that to himself, and he's using it to blackmail people or whatever, I guess.
Well, see, that would be a good story, though.
Right, but they don't use that at all, except for the Batman secret.
Yeah.
And it's just doesn't, it doesn't do anything. And it's also not fun because he's not figuring any of it out. So is he really the Riddler, or is he just guy who's like stealing people's private information?
Yeah, exactly. Like it keeps selling it to you as it's him getting smarter, but it's not when you actually listen to the dialogue. It's not. You're right.
I think it's
giving
just
him
very
info.
much that like it's.
Yeah.
I think it is just like at this point they're like, we need sellable villains. Like we know we've already done the big ones. We've done the Joker, Catwoman, the Penguin. And then it's like, well, all this plot line here, like, oh, a guy getting inside your head and psychiatrists with Batman and whatnot, it leans automatically into Hugo Strange.
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's a character you could do that with. He was from Strange Apparitions, which is what they based 89 a lot on.
And
so it's
and in fact, this whole plot line of the box is based on an episode of Batman the Animated Series, which is about Hugo Strange, not the Riddler.
Well, but it just seems like they're like, yeah, but nobody knows who Hugo Strange is.
Yeah,
so,
you know what the solution?
People know who the Riddler is. So
you know what the solution to that is, though, right? That's the whole point of having two villains. You put one who everybody knows, and you introduce a new one to people.
Right.
I think at this point, though, Two-Face wasn't like he was popular enough in the comics to warrant crossover, but I think he was the one they were taking a risk on because they're like, the John Q public don't know Two-Face, but we'll introduce them to him now. But we also need a backup, so we got the Riddler.
Yeah, but you put the Riddler with Hugo Strange, and that works. That's better.
Yeah, the Riddler and Hugo Strange makes perfect sense, and then even Two-Face and say Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
Makes more sense than Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy.
Freeze should be having like a war with Ivy. That would make more sense.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Again, going back to the war thing that we talked about in the last episode, like having the two villains fight over each other. I mean, if this was Hugo Strange is like a secret villain, like a secret backstagey villain. And Edward Nygma's on Front Street, and then later you find out that Hugo Strange is his doctor, and he's been manipulating him and turning him into the Riddler this whole time to get what he really wants, which is all this information from people.
That is such a better film.
That's like, it's so easy to make this better, or at least more of like a real movie as opposed to just a bunch of things happening.
Yeah, you could have that exact plot line, right? Except it's not. At the reveal at the end, it's like it ain't Hugo Strange, but it's Dr. Chase Meridian is filling in the Hugo Strange world. Maybe her name isn't even Chase Meridian. They're like, of course my name's not Chase Meridian. That's a stupid name. Yeah. My name's, Mrs. Hugo Strange or something.
Right, yeah. Oh, that would be awesome.
Turns out she was the secret villain the whole time. It's like, yeah, there you go. There's infinite, better movies you could make from the bare bones of Batman Forever.
You could have even added a third villain, because you could have had Hugo Strange being the background thing. He's in control of both Chase Meridian and Edward Nygma. And then the reveal at the end is that Chase Meridian isn't actually Chase Meridian. She's Harleen Quinzel, and she's here to get revenge on for Batman killing the Joker. I mean, there's a way to make that work also. There's so many.
She was like, Alicia, something. She didn't die out of that fall one time. Her name was never Alicia Hunt. She was always Harleen Quinzel.
Well, no. She doesn't actually know the Joker. My thought would be that she's like a fan.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like a crazy
Joker groupie.
Yeah, Joker groupie. Crazy Joker groupie.
No.
Yeah.
But a guy, though, talking about groupies, as Batman jumps in through the skylight here, there's a guy who must be, it seems groupie-ish in his enthusiasm. Because as Chase Meridian looks up, there's a guy behind her who does one of the most iconic moments from this whole movie of jabbing his finger in the sky and going, Batman! Yeah! And I cannot trace that guy. Like, it was really convinced, like, he's definitely gonna have an IMDb credit. Can't find him.
No.
I have no idea who this fellow is.
Same. The IMDb for this movie is terrible.
Yeah. And it really seems like, I think people were saying on the listeners page and stuff too in the past, like, is that guy the security guard from the beginning? We were kind of joking about it last week too. It's like, oh, he does look a little bit like him, because he was following around Gossip Gertie taking notes and stuff. But it's really like he looks a lot like Joe Grafasi, but it isn't him. And now I do feel, because like that guy's out there in the world somewhere bragging to everybody, like, yeah, I'm the Batman, yeah, guy. It's like, you got any proof? Nah. It's just like, you got an IMDb credit? Like, no. I didn't actually say the line. They just dubbed me in, so they just didn't even have to. They just put me down as an extra.
Batman lands in this fountain and just immediately gets wet socks, and that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Oh, isn't that the worst thing in the world when you stand in water?
It's terrible.
And socks.
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, that's the thing too. So I think this was the base of, because it is some kind of fountain. It seems to have some liquid bubbling up in there, but it was also the base of where the giant box was. So was that a box fountain? Did it have liquid pouring out of it some way, or?
Yeah, it's weird because it was obviously connected to the booths and the stuff that's happening there, but it was also there was running water that was irrelevant to that. So it's like a fountain and a real box.
Well,
see, they could have made a point of like Edward Nygma trying to show off his extreme, decadent wealth and whatnot that he has now. He's like, look at this, look at my fountain, and have like a really elaborate, stupid box fountain where it's like little, like it's like a water park or something. Like it's got little slides everywhere and water's coming each way and what way and all that. And he's just like, hey, it's pretty swanky, huh? And then it gets destroyed by Two-Face out of sheer vindictiveness. And he's just like, what the hell, you dick? I was so proud of that goddamn fountain. And you came in and destroyed it. But now it's just a question. It's, again, much like Edward Nygma, or Bruce Wayne's comment earlier in the movie. It's like, too many questions with this film, really. It's like, it was a fountain. It was a box. What is this thing he's landed in?
See, I was thinking about the sort of technical way it worked. And I was like, well, maybe there's water there because it's such a big box. It's like it needs water to cool it.
It's like a coolant.
And then I thought maybe because it's that big and powerful, it needs some other kind of chemical going on in there, like to help move the thoughts and the memories and whatnot. Like a bong. Like bong water. It's got like memory residue in it.
Yeah, so it's the bong box.
Yeah.
Although the thing is, it's like Batman jumps in and then immediately leaps out, and it's like knowing how heavy that suit was.
Ugh.
It's like, nah, that ain't happening.
Oh,
There
man.
ain't no goddamn way he's doing that.
I do like one thing that I do like about Tommy Lee Jones's performance. There aren't a great many things, but one thing that I do like is in this moment the way that he's performing Two-Face, which is like extremely calm, like he's on vacation.
Yeah.
And he's just like very chill, and he's enjoying his cocktails, his mixed cocktails, and just like really just having a chill time. And I just realized that that's because he's surrounded by chaos. And so like that's his like, his like relaxing party, like dinner party is that everyone is running around and screaming, and there's just chaos everywhere. And he's like, yeah, no, I love this. It's when there isn't any of this that he gets like all riled up.
That's true,
That's
actually.
quite
Yeah,
cool.
It does seem in more serene scenes he is more agitated. So maybe, this is him like, I'm like a pig in mud now. Like, this is my element.
Well, it's the only aspect of the character that changes. Like, everything else about him, he's just the same all the time. He's one note. He doesn't even obey the coin, as we've mentioned. But that is one aspect where you see two sides to him.
I do enjoy his little ha as well, because, that's when Edward Nygma says, I'm like, oh, pre-sold the movie rights. And he does have a moment of, as if like what I was saying earlier is like, as if they were going to make a movie out of this. Like, he himself was like scoffing at the idea. He's like, all the other crazy crap I've done that would make a way better movie than just trashing your stupid party.
But I just thought, hang on. He does say he wants to pre-sell the movie rights, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't that sort of indicate his complicity in the crimes?
Yes.
Because how would he know about all this?
Maybe that's why Two-Face did see the bigger picture. He was getting smarter from the box. He's like, well, if you pre-sold the movie rights, you idiot, they would trace it straight back to you. So if I come in and do it without you knowing, you're in the clear, buddy. Like, I'm doing you a favor here.
I think he's doing him a favor because it's looking like Edward is not involved.
Yeah.
Here's another better version of this that I just thought of, which was like, what if they got this box thing going on and it's making Two-Face smarter than the Riddler, and the Riddler is like jealous?
Yeah.
And like Two-Face is the one who ends up defeating the Riddler, and then in the end is just like, yeah, and I'm just Harvey now with like a scarred face. Like, this really sucks. But it seemed to work out because I'm not Two-Face anymore. Let's get this fixed up. Take me to a plastic surgeon,
That'd be cool.
And then it turns out like he becomes like Dick Grayson was always a red herring. Harvey Dent becomes Batman's Robin.
Yeah.
And it's Tommy Lee Jones in the rubber nipple suit running around after Val Kilmer at the end.
Oh man, such a better movie.
And when Batman jumps out of this fountain as well, after the greatest entrance of all time, How does he defeat these goons, right? Because they kind of just crumble. It's like in wrestling when they slightly fluff the move and mess it up, but they just kind of have to roll with it and sell it anyway. Like,
vibrations in the ground from the harsh landing made them fall over.
It must be that he barely touches one of them.
But that's the thing, though. Like, the line that's kind of broken up over the 2 minutes here we have of Jim Carrey saying, like, oh, your entrance was good, his was better. We talked way back at the start of the movie that one of the lines they used to sell the whole thing was Two-Face saying, like, if the Bat wants to play, we'll play. And they cut it out of the finished film. This was the other line I remember bitten on everything. Like, every trailer, every TV spot always had the, your entrance was good, his was better. The difference, showmanship. And the thing is, I didn't really get it then, and I don't really get it now. Like, and this is the thing, it's like, I could have accepted almost if it was like, oh, it's Jim Carrey doing some Jim Carrey shtick, and they're like, well, we're paying him, we're using that to promote the movie. But this was a scripted line from way back at the start. So it's like, well, what is, like, the only thing is, like, yeah, his entrance, I guess I kind of took it to be like, it's a little nod to 89 when Batman comes in through a skylight, and they're like, wasn't that cool? That was a shot we always used to promote that movie. So we'll have it in the shots to promote this movie. And we'll have the Riddler comment on, like, oh, his was better and all this sort of stuff.
What don't you get about it?
I don't maybe it's not that I don't get it. I just don't find it funny.
It's terrible, Niall. I mean, it's really, it's the most 90s, like, cliche written for a trailer line possible. Like, this was written by the marketing department. This was not this is not a real line of dialogue.
Like 99% of the lines in the movie Hackers.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Actually, I'm not allowed to mention Hackers on air because we put the episode on YouTube where we once referenced Hackers and they did a copyright claim on it.
Yeah, we just I think we just said
we
hackers
said the word
in
Hackers. Yeah.
And I was trying to think, it's like, oh man, maybe we did something in the outro that directly was, no, there's nothing there. There was no copyrighted material. So, but yeah, the Hackers had to get us.
They'll copyright claim this now. Who cares?
Yeah, of course, Hackers co-starring Matthew Lillard, who of course was in Mad Love with Chris O'Donnell and Drew Barrymore.
Wow.
And of course was in friggin' Scream with Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
With the year after this as well. But
although not together.
But yeah, that's kind of the end of this minute, though. We're left between the Edward Nygma's in the midst of his thought on, or his comment at least on, Batman's one-upmanship of Two-Face here.
Yeah, it ends on a jumping split kick.
Yeah. Again, I have to say, this movie, better action at least than the first two. Again, the fights are better, but what?
Well, because it's a lot like dancing, you see. So,
as a Joel Schumacher, he did write The Wiz.
Yeah,
he's been there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll mull that over and we'll head off into the dark night once more. Scott, would you have anything different to plug this episode?
Sure. My show, my original podcast series, Geek by Night, which is about a bunch of friends who work at a comic book store and get superpowers. We are nearing the series finale of that, and so we've been re-releasing our early episodes in these sort of shorter, more digestible chunks. So check that out. You can find that anywhere you get your podcasts, and catch up as we reach the series finale of that.
Oh, check it out, everybody. It's great stuff. And come and check us out. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that nonsense. I won't go through that again. You know it. Buy a t-shirt. TeePublic helps us out a lot. And all the money goes to just the show, just the fees and whatnot. We were going to go to Movies by Minute, maybe, if we made enough money, the convention. But obviously, with the world the way it is, that's now off. So screw that.
Yeah. Hopefully everything survives long enough for next year, and we'll get to go in 2021.
Yeah, we'll see. Unless the whole world's turned into Mad Max land, which is possible. But if I get to dress like the villains from Mad Max 2, it's a good trade-off for me.
I'm going for that. I'm going for this Two-Face tuxedo, personally. I'm loving his style. So
it's goodbye from Two-Face, and it's goodbye from me, Lord Humongous. So we will see you again.
Someone should be doing like an Instagram series or something of like during their self-isolation of just them making clothes for the apocalypse and stuff. And just like someone's like, oh, here's now I've managed to turn this glove, but I've also put a flamethrower in the back of it here, so that'll be handy.
It would be beautiful. But yes, make that and show us the pictures and the videos, everybody, and we'll see you again on Friday for more Bat Minute Forever.
Next time, Holy Pugilist Party! Nygma's box launch, Box Social becomes a boxing ring in total as the Bat continues to battle unabated. But while Dick prompts an old coot to remove a suit from a boot, can the Caped Crusader cap the cleft kernel of criminality from clearing off with his loot? Find out Friday, same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da.